First up under new business is the Arts and Entertainment Project update from BB Bullock. Is BB on the call?
I am, Dan, and I'm actually going to turn it over to the Arlington Arts Enrichment President, Carol Farley, and Peter Fairweather, the Feasibility and Marketing Consultant that we have engaged.
Before you do that, as a courtesy, I just want to remind everybody that's on the call, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself so that there's no background noise to distract the presenter or the rest of the folks wanting to listen. Thank you. Go ahead, baby.
Okay, Carol, do you want to, and Peter, do you want to start? And I'm going to jump in when we get to the grant.
So hello, I'm Carol Farley, as I know most of you. So just a little background about our project. We're really here to just do a quick update. We, as everyone in town, we're concerned about the Catholic Church property and its vacancy. We're worried that an outside entity might purchase it with not the best interests of Arlington at heart. And we really just started thinking about it as a group. What could we do? And we started talking to the Arlington Renewal Project. And from that, we wrote a grant through the Vermont Community Development Program. And so I just wanted to give you a little background about us, and then Peter is going to tell you about who we were able to hire through our grant, about what he has found about our ideas, how feasible they are. So the Arlington Arts Enrichment Program, for those of you that don't know, has been a nonprofit serving Arlington for about 15 years. And we started out in the beginning as we founded really and ran the Fisher after school program. And we also funded enrichment projects for the school and for the middle school. We also served as a fundraising arm for the Mac Performing Arts Center. We helped fund and run the Eagle's Nest for this high school. And we then we started a pilot program for Green Mountain Squash, which ran for 4 summers. And it was also an after school program. And then we did a summer and after school cooking and gardening program. And so that took us into sort of reimagining what the church property could be. And so here we are, and I'm going to hand it over to Peter Fairweather, who's going to sort of explain to you where we're coming from and what we're doing. So.
And Peter and Carol, I'm just going to remind you to just ask Nick to do next slide when you're ready, just because Nick is.
Nick is running this.
Yes, Nick is running the show.
Okay, Nick, go ahead. Next slide. Sorry. We did that. Okay. All right. So this is. Go back. No. There. Okay. So you can stop there. So I'll just quickly say this, and then I'll turn it over to Peter. So for the Arlington Arts Enrichment Program, this was kind of where we started and sort of what our brainstorming was with the Arlington Renewal Committee, because this is essentially what came from the Arlington Renewal. Blah. So we really were focused on 4 different pillars to work out within the campus. One was history and culture. How can we bring that into the community? Further education, what kinds of education can we be bringing in? Economic development, office space, and tourism, and then finally wellness and fitness. So really we went to Peter with these ideas, and he is the feasibility consultant. So he really went and did a very thorough market analysis and did a lot of research for us to tell us what would be feasible, what wouldn't, what directions we needed to go, what things we should not be thinking about. So Peter's just going to present to you what he found.
Thank you, Carol. So let me just start with kind of an overview of the feasibility analysis, just give you a sense of some of the information that went into this. You know, in my experience over the last 20 years or so, when you're doing work, market analysis in rural areas, it's important to get a lot of different kinds of information. The data is part of it, but also looking at industry practice and reaching out to folks in the community. I did about 15 interviews with folks in different planning, economic development, business, hospitality, and so on. But this will give you a sense of some of the data that's involved. You know, we looked at some of the activities that might be associated with the campus, and through Esri Business Analyst, which is a database company, we're able to identify activities that where there's a higher concentration in the area than the US as a whole. And I'll just walk you through this table really quickly. This shows you for 3 different drive times from the St. Margaret Mary property: 5 minutes away, 30 minutes away, and 80 minutes away. And then each of the rows shows different kinds of activities: woodworking, classical music or opera, adult education course. And then for each of those, it shows you the number of households in the first column there under the drive time, the percentage of all the households in that drive time. And this last thing is this mysterious MPI, which is the Market Potential Index. And this is a proprietary index that Esri has created, which looks at the demographics in the area and say, what is the potential that households in this area, that particular drive time, would participate in this activity compared to the US as a whole. The propensity to participate in the activity is the same as the US, then the MPI is 100. If it's higher, then it's greater than 100. You can see, for example, did woodworking within 5 minutes of the church. There's 102 households that did it. That's about 6.5% of all those households. And that's about 33% higher than the US as a whole. So really, this table is kind of just to give you a flavor of some of the data that we did look at, where we started looking at the different kinds of activities that folks are likely to participate in. How does that rack up compared to the US average? And the one takeaway you can get from this table is, you know, when I first started doing the work, I cast a pretty wide net. You know, there was a 5-minute drive time, 30 minutes, and 80 minutes. And if you look at the Market Potential Index, they're actually higher within 30 minutes and 5 minutes, which means the local market has got a greater potential than reaching out to the 80-minute drive time. And, you know, that was also confirmed talking to folks in the business about, you know, what are the, you know, where folks are drawing their activity from. And, you know, so based on that, and also looking at industry practice, you know, we focused more on the 30-minute drive time, but this was the first analysis. And this table is just here to give you a sense of some of the information that we were looking at. So if we can go on to the next slide. So to kind of cut to the chase, as we went through this, and, you know, the preliminary indications are that the rectory is likely to have office rentals on the 2nd floor and meeting space and community room in the 1st floor. And that the potential income you could generate from the office space would be close to covering operating costs. The second aspect we looked at would be for the former church hall to host a fitness club. And we did a fair amount of analysis on that in terms of potential interest, price points, those sorts of things. And it's something that it's possible, for example, to do something where you'd have cardiovascular equipment like spin bikes, ellipticals, free weights, weight stations, and, you know, even space for yoga, dance classes, Tai Chi, things of that sort. But, you know, one of the things we're recommending is when you look at, that's a fairly complex operation. It's a fairly complex market to compete in. And what we're suggesting is that the Arts and Enhancement Project should seek an organization to operate it in return for a modest rental. In other words, provide the space relatively cheaply to an operator, a not-for-profit operator, I think would be the best. And that in turn, for that rental, programming would be offered to the community in those kinds of exercise activities. And then lastly, the former church, and this is the long-term thinking about this, it has the potential to serve as a performing arts space and a meeting space. And there may be opportunities to do seasonal program right now. But over the long term, when the building is ready to be used as a year-round performance space, we're recommending that it bring in an experienced, aggressive operator, because this is also an area where it's really, experience is really important in terms of being able to sustain the operations. And this would be a situation where there would be, the space would be provided at cost, and then a theater company or whatever the appropriate organization would be would actually operate the programs. And you know, one of the models that I looked at is in Montpelier, there's the Lost Nation Theater operates the auditorium space in Montpelier City Hall.